I'm going to show you how to keep your worms warm in the winter, part 2. And starting it out, I'm going to help you ease your mind and to sleep good at night knowing that your worms are taken care of. And the first tip is going to be relocate your worm bin. And if you started it in the ground, in an in-ground bin, it would probably do you a lot of good and the worms to get it up off the ground, and more specifically to move it indoors if possible. And it doesn't have to be inside your house or in the basement. It could even be in a garage or in a storage building. But wherever you put it, you just want to make sure that it's not below, I would say, 34 degrees, because below 32 degrees, because there's moisture in it, it could freeze. And so tip number 2 is going to be bury your food scraps. And I know a lot of us just put the food scraps on top, which is fine in the summer months, but when it does get cold, when you bury it, the microbes really get going better and it kind of traps the heat into the worm bin. And number 3 is going to be monitor the temps outside and on the inside of your worm bin. So when you get up, drink your coffee, go ahead and check the weather and make sure that it's not going to be 10 degrees below freezing or somewhere in there, because if it is, then your worms are at high risk of freezing and your worms won't make it below freezing. So I'd highly recommend getting them to where that can't happen, because they are a very important creature and they do a lot of good for the world and for the garden and for fishing and to just save the food scraps from the landfill. And so tip number 4 is going to be add more food than you usually add, and also to add something like leaves or straw or something to increase the bedding and to give it kind of like a blanket, or as we call it, a worm pillow. And so by doing that, you're going to heat up the bin a little bit, and every little bit counts to get it above the freezing point. And tip number 5, kind of a bonus tip, is going to be to get more worms and put in there if you feel confident that you can keep them above freezing. And it is a little risky to do this, but that's what we do, is we have a lot of worms, and by doing that, your bin can handle more food, because if you put a ton of food on them, it's just going to mold up and it's not going to work out. But if you have enough worms that'll eat through it, more food equals more heat, which equals a safer environment for the worms through the winter. So with that being said, that was the top 5 tips. Now I'm going to give y'all a little bit of bonus material. And I would just like to say thank you to everyone that's bought stuff off our website. It's really changed our lives for the better. And I also appreciate all the comments and subscribers. And thank you guys so much. Also, what we're doing right here is we're piling up a bunch of worms on top, and that's going to increase the microbial activity on the pumpkin, then decomposing it faster. That way the worms can get to it and have a good time, because it is the favorite food of the worm is the pumpkin, and it's also one of our favorite foods to feed them. And in the video, we've been putting a lot of molasses on it and a lot of molasses in our bins, and that was the black sludge liquid that we were putting on there, and they really love it, and it helps to boost the worm bin activity and to make sure they're active. And we also are aerating the bin right here, and that makes it easier for the worms to move around, along with a bunch of other good stuff, because if you don't aerate it, it's going to sour. Also, the reason we got into vermicomposting is to grow the best vegetables and fruits that you can. And so right now is a great time to get the worms. That way it's ready for the springtime. So with all that being said, legends for staying till the end. I'll see y'all on the next video. Thank you.